My name is Kendall, and I'm going to be reviewing the 1997 hit Final Fantasy VII in terms of its historical, technological, and cultural contexts, as well as my play experience with the game. Historically, Final Fantasy VII largely helped Sony break into the market and uproot Nintendo, the longtime controller. FF7 remains the best-selling game of the franchise, so it was fate that it was conceived and given to Sony at the time when they needed a popular console-selling game. The game itself was influenced by previous Final Fantasy installments and by the RPG genre, but what is most important about this game is the influence it had on future games. Final Fantasy VII almost single-handedly popularized RPGs in America and primed the marketplace for future RPGs. In a way, it's thanks to this game that games like Mass Effect stood a chance beyond the traditional RPG niche. Back in the mid-90s, Squaresoft was looking to produce an RPG of epic proportions, including full-motion video, 3D maps and sprites, and highly detailed stories and characters. At the time, Nintendo considered making a CD-playing console, which Square was banking on in order to produce Final Fantasy VII to its fullest extent. However, the cartridge-based N64 is what came out, and Square left Nintendo after a 10-year exclusive partnership because the staff did not want to see FF7 take cuts like some of their previous games just so it could fit on a cartridge. And so it was that FF7 came out for the Sony PlayStation. The technology of the time, then, was extremely important to the development of Final Fantasy VII. Though the N64 would have offered better 3D graphics, Squaresoft opted for the storage capabilities of the CD due to the enormous rate that 7 was growing and coming into its own. Dozens of new workers swelled the production team to the hundreds as new faces were brought in who understood 3D software that previous FF veterans had never needed to learn. In terms of innovation to the genre, FF7 featured no distinct character classes. Though each character uses a different weapon, units of magic, armor, and accessories can be equipped by anyone. This might have helped the game catch on in America as quickly as it did, because the game focused less on strategy and what type of party member you used for a certain battle, and more on the story and characters themselves. In addition, the game featured branching dialogue and opportunities for different outcomes, a new aspect for the series. 7 was the first Final Fantasy to take place in a more or less modern world. It spoke heavily about preserving the environment and the dangers of greed and industrialization. Other common Final Fantasy themes showed up, such as fate, will, and the fickleness of memory. Unlike previous Final Fantasies, death was taken more seriously, and gamers felt the sense of why that we feel from loss in real life. The largest theme of the game, treating the environment with respect, was effectively reinforced by the ending of the game. The ultimate conflict of the story was not solved by humans, but by nature itself. Though the heroes tried to stop the evil unleashed by another human, the planet fixed the problem, as nature does in real life. It shows that we need to live more in tune with nature, and everything will be provided for. Two major controversies stick out about the game. The first was part of the plot, the death of Aeris. Players were shocked that it happened so early in the game and that her loss could be felt throughout the rest of it. For one thing, her spot in the party is never filled. In addition, you spend so much time raising her and the others, you can easily get to level 50 by the end of the first disc. The players grew attached to her, and it turned out all of her growth was for naught. There is an official game image of Aeris looking at the Highwind, the party's airship, but that never happened in-game. This is one of the reasons players believed for a long time that she could be revived. The other controversy was on the outside. Nintendo felt that Squaresoft was an enemy now, and vowed to never let them produce games for them again. Square's defecting to Sony paved the way for other Nintendo-affiliated third parties to leave as well, including the company that would someday join Squaresoft and together become Square Enix. Final Fantasy VII allowed Sony and the PlayStation to break Nintendo's control of the console market. As for the actual gameplay of Final Fantasy VII, I can safely say it is one of my favorite games. I have played all of the Final Fantasies, but I started with 10, not 7, since we bought a PS2 pretty late in its lifetime, which was 7th grade for me. I loved the materia system, and nothing has ever been better than the limit break system. Having played 10, I enjoyed freely roaming the world map in 7. I'm a person who doesn't mind raising the people and materia, so I have no disputes over the endless battles, which aren't nearly as frequent as Final Fantasy IV's. The funny translations didn't bother me too badly the first time I played. True, there were a few times I was given choices, and the answers seemed to say the same thing, or there'd be a strange pronoun thrown in, but it didn't affect the overall gameplay and story. The story, by the way, I loved. I was in English classes at the time, learning about heroes in Greek plays and Shakespeare and whatnot, and Cloud truly stood out to me as a real hero. When you get to the part of the game where you find out who Cloud really is, you find that he is this weak guy who has to keep fighting and growing even if he might not want to, just like the heroes in literature. And there you have it, my brief analysis of Final Fantasy VII, a game that I truly love. I hope that this makes you want to go out and play it for yourself if you haven't yet, and if you have, congratulations for choosing such a great game.